It's Tuesday, December 28th, and this is now on HNN.
It's a strong language, but it's also very true.
Calling them a ticking time bomb, a hearings officer says the order to drain the Red Hill fuel tanks should stand. We've got new reaction just ahead.
We're going to start surge testing.
As cases rise, some leaders are eyeing more testing and restrictions.
Well, they are trying to pare down their schedules. Of course, weather's always the intangible.
And new at noon, we'll talk about what airlines are doing to deal with the COVID staffing shortages.
It's a warning.
We've got these stories, plus a look at what's coming to the box office in 2022. That's just ahead on This Is Now.
And welcome to This Is Now. I'm Mark Carpenter. Let's get started with the latest case numbers being reported across the state. The Department of Health confirms 824 new COVID infections today and no additional fatalities. And earlier this morning, the University of Hawaii announced it is temporarily moving many of its classes online for the first 2 weeks of the spring semester due to Hawaii's COVID surge and spread of the Omicron variant. UH President David Laster made the announcement just a short time ago to tell all students, faculty, and staff. Classes are still slated to begin January 10th with an intent to return to in-person learning on Monday, January 24th. And now let's toss it over to Jonathan for more on today's top stories from our digital center.
Thanks so much, Mark. You know, we just got an update from the Board of Water Supply in regards to that hearing officer's decision to uphold the emergency order to drain the Red Hill fuel tanks. Let's listen out to some of what was said just a short time ago.
You know, somehow that fuel got into those tanks and they had to be pumped and unloaded from Pearl Harbor and pumped all the way up the hill. And that probably just occurred recently. So if the Navy feels that it's unsafe to remove the fuel from the tanks, then my question to the Navy is, why are you still using that facility if you feel it's unsafe to unload the fuel right now?
Citing a humanitarian and environmental disaster and the ongoing threat to the principal source of Oahu's drinking water, a state hearings officer says the governor's order that the Red Hill underground fuel storage tanks be drained should be upheld.
But I realize that we have to take a reasoned, rational approach that is protective of the human health and the environment, that if the Navy feels that due to recent developments they need to do some corrective measures to be able to safely unload the fuel, then so be it. They just need to comply with the Department of Health's order. Although it allows them some time, I would urge them to act with urgency, with a sense of urgency that we need to protect the environment, protect the water resources, protect our community from fuel contamination.
The recommendation came in yesterday afternoon following a contested case hearing last week on the order. The state health department said the Navy has until Wednesday to file any objections, which would be reviewed by a deputy director who will make a final decision. The Navy, however, is likely to pursue its challenge to the order in the courts. In a brief statement yesterday, the Navy said it is aware of the proposed decision and had no further comment. We did get new reaction in from the Sierra Club. Here's what Wayne Tanaka had to say.
We're thankful that the hearings officer, really came, we believe, to the only rational and logical conclusion that can be made in this case. The Red Hill facility, it's 80 years old. Its tanks are actively corroding. It's leaked throughout its lifetime. It has now poisoned people. It will leak again. There's really no way to keep our drinking water, our way of life safe, other than to defuel the facility, which is what the emergency order directs the Navy to do.
Well, it has been in the news a lot over the past days. Thousands of flights being canceled during the peak holiday rush. CBS travel editor Peter Greenberg gave us this update.
Well, they are trying to pare down their schedules. Of course, weather's always the intangible. But remember, they're all trying to just get through this week, because if they can get to January 4th, Fares plummet, traffic plummets, and they can get back on track. Let me give you an example. If I wanted to book a round-trip ticket this morning from New York to Los Angeles, assuming I could even get on a plane, that round-trip fare is $700. January 5th, $132. I also priced out a Dallas to New York trip on January 5th. It was $32. The cab ride to the airport is more expensive. So remember, if they can get to the first quarter, that's when traffic drops. Historically, very few people travel in the first quarter, and that's what they're hoping to do. In the meantime, they pulled out of a number of cities. Americans pulled out of 26 cities. Delta and United about 10 cities each. So they're trying to get back to a more stable schedule.
And we just got this into our newsroom, an update from Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. He says that there are 112 people hospitalized across the state today with COVID-19. 53 of those people are vaccinated. Speaking of the LG, he also gave us an update on any potential changes to the Safe Travels program. Here's what he had to say.
We've just begun the earliest potential discussions for change, and that would be going forward at some point you should either be boosted or tested. So it's simpler that way. We're going to come to a time soon where in order to honor people's vaccination status, they're going to need to have that booster. Otherwise they're going to be catching and spreading Omicron. So boosted or tested will soon become the standard, I would believe, but that will take a few weeks. And that would mean you can get a test, within 72 hours of travel or show that you've been fully vaccinated and boosted. That makes the most sense to me, but there's a lot of discussion ahead on that.
Hawaii County Mayor Mitch Roth announced Monday he tested positive for COVID-19. He joined us on Sunrise this morning to update us on his condition and to discuss the county's efforts to combat the virus.
Mayor, how are you feeling this morning?
I actually feel pretty good.
Okay.
It feels like a cold.
Yeah. Well, that said, Mayor, not everyone is that well off when they do contract it. You're in the midst of a surge right now, 103 cases on Hawaii Island. Yesterday, would you like to see restrictions put back into place?
Well, we actually moved back our indoor gathering size back to 10 yesterday. My managing director, Lee Lord, signed that in. The way this is spreading, it's spreading at lightning speed. So there's a lot of concern right now.
Yeah. Anything else you're considering at this point?
At this point, not really. I think the governor has some decisions on travel that we're looking at. But as far as the Big Island, I think we have our actions in place. We continue to monitor the situation and, really want to encourage people to get vaccinated.
The bulk of the cases are here on Oahu. There's a lot of people that travel back and forth. I mean, we're right in the midst of the holidays. Are you considering at all, or would you like to see it considered a quarantine inter-island?
I don't know about a quarantine, but the way I got it was through a family member who came in. And so we think testing is very important.
Yeah. How about this, Mayor, because there are a lot of people that are, and we hear this argument a lot. You are fully vaccinated, you got the booster yourself, and yet you still got it. There are people that saying, well, obviously the vaccine doesn't work. What is your response to that?
My response is this vaccine is absolutely working. The vaccine wasn't designed to prevent people from getting COVID. It was designed to prevent people from dying and getting very seriously ill and crowding our hospitals. And I'm proof positive. I'm doing okay, mild conditions, and that's what we're seeing with this Omicron variant.
Yeah, again, we're speaking to Hawaii County Mayor Mitch Roth. Mayor, we just saw 321% increase on Hawaii Island in the past 2 weeks. I mean, the numbers are insane. And look, we understand that personal accountability is a big part of this. We understand that there are things in place right now, but there are some health experts that say, well, we really need to cut things down because we're watching what's happening in the hospitals. Why not do a little bit more to make sure that this doesn't spread even more than it already has recently?
Yeah, like I said, yesterday we cut down our indoor gatherings from 25 to 10. And so, we're looking at everything we can do, but, still make sure that our people are able to survive financially and physically as well.
Yeah, and we're not by any means advocating for that. We're just presenting the other side because we hear these arguments and we understand people's concerns. Children are going to go back to school. Any concern there next week after the winter break?
Absolutely concerned. But, I think the schools have pretty good plans. The issue, I guess, for me is that this disease is very communicable. And like I said, it happened to me. So I thought I was being careful, and lo and behold, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. What about extracurriculars for the children, sports after school and so forth?
Everything I'm seeing outdoors is pretty safe. It's the indoor gatherings that are of concern to us right now.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe we're heading into 2022 and we're asking the same questions, albeit in a somewhat different circumstance, but it's just all too familiar. Mayor Mitch Roth, we're glad that you're doing well this morning. We appreciate the time.
And as cases continue to climb, Maui Mayor Mike Victorino says he's considering re-implementing restrictions. Maui has had more than 500 new infections in the last week. Victorino is also pushing for more testing.
We're going to start surge testing next week. We're looking at running it 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. And we're hoping to have certain day and certain night hours where we can do between 1,000 and 1,200 additional tests each and every day.
Victorino is also urging everyone to keep their testing appointments. He says many don't show up after scheduling tests, and Victorino says that takes away time slots for people who really need it.
The CDC now says asymptomatic COVID patients can now get out of quarantine after 5 days instead of 10. It's the same for close contacts. Even without symptoms, patients are still urged to wear a mask for an additional 5 days. The CDC says there's growing evidence that COVID is most infectious in the 2 days before and 3 days after symptoms onset. Turning to international news now, the city in China with the highest number of COVID-19 infections is under a strict lockdown. Stephen Jiang reports.
Just to put things in perspective, the record-breaking number in Xi'an we're talking about was 175 new locally transmitted cases recorded on Monday. A small number in any other country, but in China, this is a huge deal because of their continued insistence on a zero COVID policy, especially ahead of the Winter Olympics in Beijing, which is less than 40 days away. That's why authorities in Xi'an are doubling down on their strategy of mass testing and mass quarantine, but they insist that the alarming numbers we are seeing there is only to be expected as they conduct more citywide testing for 13 million residents. State media has said a lot of the new infections or close contacts with previously confirmed patients, so these numbers will stabilize soon and start decreasing, and this whole outbreak could be over in a month or so as the spread of the virus being stopped, because a citywide lockdown for Xi'an continues to be in place, along with other stringent measures such as the cancellation of all domestic flights since last week from the city's airport, which is actually one of the country's busiest aviation hubs, handling more than 31 million passengers last year, but now its terminals almost completely abandoned. And the city's officials have said what the city needs right now is to come to a complete standstill as the government focuses on its containment efforts, something probably only possible in China's political system. Stephen Jiang, CNN, Beijing.
Now to a developing story. U.S. and Russian officials are scheduled to hold talks next year as tensions rise between Russia and Ukraine. Ian Lee has the story.
There's something different about these war games outside of Ukraine's capital. Running through the forest aren't soldiers, but doctors, students, and businessmen. I believe every young person in this country should know what to do when the enemy invades, says this student. This may seem like something out of a Hollywood movie, but the threat is real. Ukraine is staring down the barrel of a possible Russian invasion. Western intelligence agencies think it could happen as early as next year, although Moscow denies this. So Ukrainian soldiers are training civilians to shoot a gun and even make improvised explosive devices. These people arrive, receive weapons, and carry out command assignments to defend their homes, says this battalion commander. While Ukraine's military trains with new American weapons like the Javelin anti-tank missile, it knows it can't stand up to the might of the Russian military. Just across the border, tens of thousands of Russian troops prepare for their next orders. So Ukraine's defense plan includes building a local resistance, drawing lessons from America's wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. I believe we have a chance to win even if our enemy is stronger and has better weapons, as long as every single person defends our homeland, says this doctor. If the fog of war comes, these Ukrainian citizens plan to be ready. Ian Lee, CBS News.
We're going to have a partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies. Not a great beach day, but we won't see a lot of rain. There will be just a few windward and Mocha showers. And with those breezy winds hanging on through tomorrow, today's weather will look a lot like tomorrow's weather. Surf, however, will be dropping. We still have a great swell coming into north and west shores, but it's pretty hefty. You got to be experienced to tackle those waves. And on the east side, it's just about the same size, but it's also choppier. So we've got these breezy winds with semi-soggy conditions through Wednesday. Showers favoring windward and Mocha areas. Leeward side's not going to see much. More widespread rainfall expected starting on Thursday, and that means for the New Year's Eve celebration, it's expected to be a little bit soggy.
The iconic Betty White is nearing her 100th birthday celebration, and in a recent interview with People magazine, the comedy legend shared the secret to long life, which includes always staying positive and finding optimism in any situation. The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Golden Girls star has had a decorated career, and now she says she enjoys golf and playing crossword puzzles. Let's all wish her a happy birthday. And Jonathan, what else did you find on the feeds?
Oh, man, I'm a huge Betty White fan. Well, here's what I found, and we're still talking about holiday shopping, and this is why. Because we spent a lot compared to last year. According to MasterCard Spending Pulse report, it indicates sales rose 8.5%, with electronics, jewelry, clothing being this year's hottest gifts. Analysts say it's a sign consumers have no issue spending despite the pandemic. All right, moving on, I want to show you guys this video, and this is from Oregon, and it's pretty incredible. They've got some bad weather there, and it was caught on camera by a dashboard. See this? That truck just slides off the road there. Now, we're told that truck driver landed in some soft snow, and there was no injuries. A big part of the West is dealing with these really blizzard-like conditions. Lots of snow out there. Let's just watch it one more time. I think it is going to re-rack for us. Yeah. So lucky no one was hurt in this incident. Again, parts of the West dealing with some really severe weather out there. Moving on to some more positive news in our Good News Now segment, we're getting a look at some of the movies that will be released in 2022. I can't believe I'm saying 2022. CNN put together this piece. I'll play it out for you.
The ability to use echolocation. An overpowering urge to consume blood.
Sony and Marvel already have another movie waiting in the wings to join Spider-Man in cinemas. Jared Leto stars as Morbius, a biochemist who accidentally becomes a living vampire. As opposed to the undead variety, Morbius leaps into theaters January 28th.
Hey kid, a little young for a bartender, aren't you? A little old for prom, aren't you?
Hot on the heels of Spider-Man No Way Home, Tom Holland will be back in theaters in Uncharted. Holland plays Nathan Drake in a big screen adaptation of the popular video game character. Uncharted arrives February 18th.
When that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning.
Robert Pattinson fights for Gotham City in The Batman. Pattinson dons the cowl of a young Dark Knight as he takes on the Riddler. The Batman swoops into theaters March 4th.
Don't look at me! Stay back!
It's happened already?
What did you say?
Disney and Pixar's latest animated adventure is Turning Red. As if being a 13-year-old girl wasn't hard enough, the character Mei Li also has to deal with turning into a giant red panda. The fur flies March 11th.
Your desecration of reality will not go unpunished.
Benedict Cumberbatch is back in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Following the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, the Doctor delves deeper into the worlds of the multiverse. The Doctor is in May 6th.
Your instructor is one of the finest pilots this program has ever produced.
The long-awaited Top Gun Maverick flies into theaters this year. Tom Cruise is back in the cockpit as Pete Mitchell when Top Gun Maverick takes to the skies May 27th.
To infinity.
And another courageous pilot heads to infinity and beyond in Lightyear. Chris Evans takes on the voice role of Buzz Lightyear in an origin story for the Toy Story character. Lightyear lifts off June 17th. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Oh man, so many of those look so good. Again, those are coming to you in 2022. I still haven't seen the Spider-Man movie, breaking records all over the place. Well guys, did you know tomorrow is a very, very special day? Yep, it is called Tick-Tock Day. We're not talking about social media. Yep, the clock is ticking more like. December 29th is officially Tick-Tock Day. That's because the day serves as a reminder to complete whatever you need to do before the year ends. I like that idea. Or maybe it's a day just to finish off your personal goals. Did you finish reading that book? Did you lose those extra pounds? Or book that travel for 2022? Maybe your goals are grander or simpler. Whatever they are, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Don't forget to use the hashtag tomorrow, Tick-Tock Day, if you post on social media. And that includes on TikTok, of course, I assume. All right, guys, let's see what's happening at the Honolulu Zoo. And this is pretty adorable stuff. Yep, they welcomed this new addition, Petunia, an African pygmy hedgehog. She's actually someone's pet, but since hedgehogs are illegal in the state, she was surrendered to the zoo by the department, or through the Department of Agriculture's amnesty program. Her natural habitat is an African wildlife habitat. Petunia has 6,000 short quills on her, and she lies flat on her back when she is calm. She loves fruits, veggies, and insects. What a cute little Sonic the Hedgehog there. I can't get enough of this video. That is some cute stuff. I was just at the zoo over the holiday weekend. Very fun, socially distanced place to visit, and I'm a member myself. All right, guys, I want to show you one more thing before we go. Check this out. This is how beautiful the conditions are we're dealing with. Much of the area in the high 70s, low 80s. Now, let's switch gears and show you. Remember how I said parts of the West are just dealing with some severe weather? Check this out. Yeah, this is parts of Northern California breaking records with so much snow for December. 179 inches was the record set in 1970s for Donner Pass. That was just broken for the month already. Can you believe that? That's what they're dealing with there in California. And then again, this is what we're dealing with here. Oh, so lucky we live Hawaii. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Tuesday. Mark Carpenter is going to be back at 4 on KHNL. You don't want to miss that. I just want to take a little bit of time to remind you that we're podcasting here all the time at H&M. Jim Mendoza has a podcast. Lynn Kawano has a podcast. This Is Now is a podcast. You can download that and listen to it anytime you want, anywhere you get your podcast. Just search Hawaii News Now. And another quick plug, we have a newsletter, e-newsletter. You can sign up for it right now on any of your H&N digital platforms. So easy, put your email address in, and then we're going to send you the headlines throughout the day and give you an afternoon wrap-up every afternoon right there in your inbox. Again, so much news still developing out of the day. You want to stick around on H&N, all your H&N digital platforms for updates today on First at 4. That's coming up in about 3.5 hours. You guys have a safe afternoon out there. I'm Jonathan Jared Sapi. I'll be back here tomorrow. Have a great one.